I've been dying to see this view of Paris, so I'm going for a walk and I'm taking you with me. They've got this adorable little Christmas tree. The blue came out. This isn't the main view, but how gorgeous is this tree? It's so sparkly. This tree at every bloody angle. Take all the escalators up and now. Take the stairs. We made it to the deck. Here's the view I've been waiting for. Am I crying or is it windy up here? For this lunch hour, I'm gonna go with this 30-minute abs and booty class to do a little bit of a workout before I head to my favorite coffee shop this afternoon and need to look up some stuff for my visa and also job applications. Yes, it's the same day, and yes, I got changed, but this morning made me realize it's not as cold outside as I thought it would be. And I think it's not too blue, but it's about 10 or 13 degrees today. So I'm just gonna wear a sweater with my scarf instead of a jacket. And now I'm gonna go to my favorite coffee shop and just do some work, a little bit boring stuff, but I'll bring you along if you wanna see what it's like. As you can tell, we are back in my apartment and you're currently propped up against a little candle on my coffee table, but I'm thinking of doing a little bit more computer work here. I ended up running into some friends there, which is so fun. I'm really glad that I have some connections here now, but it does mean that I don't really get any computer work done because I just don't want to be impolite and be on my laptop while we're all chatting. My cup always feels so full after having an afternoon chatting with them. They're just so much fun. And I'm really, really lucky for the connections that I have with them now. But at the same time, I didn't really get into some of the things on my personal checklist today. So I'm thinking right now, I'm gonna look into some French classes. I really want to study French while I'm here, and there are some shorter and longer course options. So I'm just gonna weigh which one would be best for me to freshen up on my French. And I also want to apply for a couple jobs. Once a few of the girls left, I did pull out my laptop and applied for maybe 3 or 4 jobs while I was at the cafe, but they closed at 6. So I'm gonna do a few more of those and maybe also look into some visa options because I also do have a lot of time with that. I have about 6 months left on my visa, but I just don't want to leave it last minute and see what my options are for extending, for staying in France, if I have to leave, where I could go, all that stuff. And then later I'm thinking of maybe baking some cookies, which I used to love doing back home. I would make cookies for myself, for my friends. It just feels really nostalgic and cozy. So I thought it might be funny to show you how I do it. I pretty much just use all the equipment that came with my apartment. We have a fully furnished apartment. So the stuff that is here isn't necessarily for baking. So I thought I could show you how I bake them. I could add a little recipe in the description if you want to make them too. They're my favorite. I wrote out this recipe back in 2015. I've made this recipe probably about, I'm not even kidding you, 300 times. This is from a kid's cookbook that my sister had when she was like 3 years old or something, very little. She's a bit older than me, but by the time I got to baking, I used to make this recipe with my mom, and every time I've gone to a new apartment, I've made this recipe. It just requires half a cup of unsalted butter and brown sugar typically, which you can see I've got a mixture of 2 here. It's because I just ran out. But in France, I've had a really hard time finding brown sugar, so I use this daddy one, which I think is pretty hilarious, but it's actually just cane sugar. It's slightly goldeny brown, but it's not actual brown sugar, which if you know, normally has molasses in it. So it's not quite the same texture, but I figure it's close enough. And they have this funny thing here for their measuring cups. Haven't been able to find any yet, but this, if you are familiar with like a liquid measurement cup back home in Canada, you usually have like a little pour spout and it's just for your liquids. But this has cocoa, your flour in here, your sugar, and it's all in grams. So I literally have to go down and line it up and just eyeball all the measurements. So baking is a little bit of a science, so it doesn't always turn out perfectly, but that's the funny thing about this. So I have to use that for the sugar, also the flour, which I am able to find here, but not the best measurement tool for it. Oats, 1 egg, some vanilla, what else? Baking soda, and some chocolate. Usually I just use chocolate chips. This is half dark and half milk chocolate that I just chop up into little bits. So the longest part is this method of stirring because I don't have beaters here. Chop it up. I kind of just press the butter into the sugar for quite some time until it becomes one creamy little layer. This step is just really smooth. Like you can see how it's kind of just creamed together. That's what you want. I take my egg. This is also not the best type of vanilla. I'm used to using really good quality like Madagascar vanilla, but I have to unfortunately use this one. It has like sugar, vanilla flavoring. I don't know. It's just all I can find here. So that's what I use. And then I just whip it up. This doesn't look the most appetizing right now, but just trust the process. I think it looks pretty good. This is how I bloody measure the flour. You go down to eye level, and the only measurement that I have on here is it goes from 100 to 125, and I need 120 grams. Obviously, I could buy a scale. I do understand that, but I just don't care, and if they're not perfect, they're not perfect. This is about 120. Okay. I feel like bakers would be rolling their eyes. I'm not a baker. I don't care. I just love cookies. So as long as they turn out delicious, which they always do, even if they're not perfect, to me, a fresh baked cookie is a fresh baked cookie. I will eat it scalding hot out of the oven because it's my favorite thing ever. So I get it mostly mixed, and then I just use a spatula and get out all of the floury bits. Don't mind my disgusting spatula. It is clean, I promise you. It's just a little bit stained from some tomato sauce, which I know looks really gross. It's supposed to be white, but don't look at it. And it sucks because it falls off. Anyway, it's all baked with love. Okay, that's enough. That's enough with you. I need to get a new spatula. Oh my god. Normally, spatulas don't disconnect to their handle, so I'm not really sure what happened to this one, but it just does, maybe for cleaning's sake, but man, it's annoying. The oats is another funny one. The measurements on this go from 75 to 100, and I need 82 grams, which is pretty precise, so it's also not accurate at all. I've made this recipe so many times that once I put it in, mix it up, I can usually tell if it needs a little bit more. A lot of people just create their own recipes. I don't quite have that ability. I just always make this one, but at the same time, that's kind of what I have to do sometimes, especially baking them here in France. They're not going to be the way I normally bake them. The first few times didn't really work out very well, and the last couple, I think I've been getting a bit better at eyeballing the baking soda, because usually they would spread out and be really flat and kind of expand, but lately I think I've been adding a touch more and they've been looking a bit better. Just add a pinch of salt. I just take a spoon, pretty small one, and I just get a little spoonful. I'm gonna guess about that. And now for the best part. Boom. Then I just scoop them into this hilarious pan that is not meant for cookies.
I don't have a cookie sheet though, so I just go with the flow. I only do 6 at a time because, like I said, I didn't get the baking soda ratio right for most of the batches that I've made so far, and they spread out like super huge. So I just do 6 at a time. This recipe makes more than 6 cookies, but I have the bowl over there, and I'm just gonna keep scooping, putting more cookies in, taking them off, rotating, da da da. So put these in the oven for 11 or 12 minutes. Voila. They do still spread out a little bit, but damn, they look good. Don't mean to toot my own horn, but I let these cool a bit. But get ready for this melty action. I love cookies.
It is in fact the next day. I just want to wrap up this video by saying thank you for watching. I'll add the recipe below if you're curious about baking those cookies. And if there's anywhere in Paris that you'd really love to see, put it in the comments and I can take you there. Until next time.